Today we're talking how to sell Google AdWords, all about setting expectations and managing expectations once a campaign goes live. This is the video to teach you not only how to sell AdWords, but also how to get your client from not biting your head off midway through month one when the campaign doesn't take off like a bat out of hell. So I'm going to walk you through how to properly set and manage expectations and just give you lots of experience that I have from having managed hundreds of AdWords campaigns and clients. So before we dive in though, if this is your first time here, welcome to my PPC training. We're the leading resource for AdWords tutorials or Google Ads tutorials on YouTube, as well as agency training. So we go through everything from how to set up a campaign all the way through how to properly run and manage your AdWords agency or your digital marketing agency. So we hope you dig the content. If you're new here and you like what you see, do subscribe to this channel. We upload pretty much daily at this point, so lots of good content coming down the pipe. And if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. All right, let's get into the content. So today we're talking how to sell Google AdWords, how to set and manage client expectations. So I put together a list of 7 things. There could be 8, there could be 10, there could be 5, but I put together 7. Now this is just my opinion. I've sold the shit out of AdWords. I've sold a lot of accounts, and this is my experience having done it many times. So first things first, through the sales process, you want to define what a successful campaign looks like for your client. Okay, and this is key to setting proper expectations. They may, in their mind, have one thing of what success looks like, whereas you have one thing, and then you guys don't meet, and it makes for a messy relationship and a lot of missed expectations and a salty client. You don't want that. So it's really important to really hammer out what the client thinks this is going to produce, given the size of the market that they're in, and then also their budget. Budget's a big piece of this. So figuring out what a successful campaign looks like to the client is very important. So are they looking for 10 leads a month? Are they looking for 50 leads a month? Are they looking for 500 leads a month? These are questions that you've got to ask so that you can work backwards from a budget standpoint to figure out whether that's attainable given the budget that they have. So let's say, for example, they want 50 leads, but they have a $1,000 a month budget, and your average click cost is $35 a lead, or $35 a click. Those numbers aren't going to back out, okay? Whereas if you had $10,000 a month budget and they're looking for 50 leads, you can certainly make those numbers work. So being able to just do quick and dirty math in the keyword planner, as well as any knowledge you have from the market, or if you are outsourcing the work or using a freelancer, being able to lean on them for information about market trends and what they're seeing cost per lead in any given market is certainly helpful for helping to set the expectation for the client properly. So hopefully I didn't confuse you there, but it's really just important to figure out how much budget that they have and what they're looking to yield from that budget. And then also another thing you got to throw in here is are they going to get enough leads with that budget to make a return on investment of not only their ad spend, but the management fee that you're charging them? Okay, so that's an important factor as well. If you're charging them a $1,000 a month management fee, they've got a $1,000 a month ad budget, and they're only going to get 10 leads. I'm just throwing out an example here. They could be getting 30 leads. I don't know. But their client lifetime value is only $100. Are those numbers going to back out for them? This is all the math that you've got to do prior just to make sure it makes sense. And that's one reason I like to go after niches that have really high lifetime values, just because it makes the math a lot easier and you don't have to go through the nitty and gritty. Whereas if this was a restaurant, how many reservations do I need to book, or how many catering gigs do I need to book for these numbers to back out? These are just things you've got to think about when you're dealing with AdWords. And not just AdWords. This is how you set expectations for SEO, for Facebook ads, for email marketing, all that stuff. These are numbers you've got to work through. All right, next thing I want to talk about is AdWords is not a silver bullet. Or I keep saying AdWords. I'm from the old school. Google Ads. Google Ads is not a silver bullet. The reason I say that is because if it was, there would be no management industry. Google Express or AdWords Express would be the greatest thing ever, and if you've ever used it, we know that's not the case, and it's pretty awful. And Also, every local business that used it would be doing 7 and 8 figures a month in business or a year in business. They'd all be super successful. It would just be set it and forget it, turn it on, let it ramp up and do its thing, and it would be wonderful. The reality is it's a market, okay? Just like the stock market, you've got ups and downs, you've got expansion, you've got contraction, you've got different competitors entering the market, raising up bids, lowering bids, changing bids. There's a lot of different factors that go into a successful AdWords campaign. So these are all things you've got to take into account and really let the client know about. AdWords is not a silver bullet. It does not save your business. If your numbers and your business are built on bad math, meaning profitability of the business, AdWords isn't going to help that. It's just going to exacerbate that because you're spending more money that you don't have. So AdWords is not a silver bullet. We try to pick industries we know we can help, but again, just be selective with the types of clients you work with, and refer back to number one with finding clients that have large lifetime values. It'll just make your life easier in the long run. Next is campaigns take time to ramp up. Now, think of a new campaign as a baby. Okay. Your wife was pregnant, or your girlfriend was pregnant, your fiance was pregnant for 9 months. She gives birth to this happy, beautiful little baby boy. Now it's an infant. Okay, a few months later, it's a newborn. Then it's an infant. Then it's a toddler. Then it's a child. Then it's a preteen. Then a teen. And then you just keep going through, and that's the stage, the natural progression of how things happen. AdWords is not too different than that. A new campaign is very much a baby in its infantile stages, and really to have a campaign dialed in, you really do need 60 to 90 days worth of data running through the campaign and the proper weekly optimizations. And if you're new to AdWords and you don't know how to optimize a campaign, we have tons of optimization videos. I think we're up to 50 optimization videos on this channel. So there's a playlist specifically for how to optimize a campaign. Watch those. Optimizations typically need to be done on a weekly basis. Depends on how much money is going through the account, how many clicks you're getting through in the account. But yeah, so campaigns take time to ramp up. The more weekly optimizations or the more optimizations you run through, the better off you're going to be in the long run, because you're making the campaign tighter and tighter, at least the way we do them. I don't mean that to be arrogant. I'm just, the more optimizations we run through in a campaign, we know the better off the campaign is going to be, because we've tested different things. We've dialed in, hopefully, the conversion rate, the click-through rate, the cost per lead, all that good stuff. So, so campaigns are not out of the gate going to be the best they're going to be. These things take time, and that's just how it works. Think of AdWords as playing like a giant game of King of the Hill. Once you get to the top of that mountain, you've got to then defend that position and fight off all the competition that's coming up to try to take that position. So it's not only a ramp up period, but once you get up top, you better have your sword and start slinging it, because people are coming for you. So again, AdWords is not a set it and forget it platform either. So next is number 4. Budget is a big factor. Okay, budget is a big factor. All right. When a new client comes to me and says, okay, they're limited on budget, what do you recommend? First thing I do is, okay, I say, let's lop off the weekend. Let's just run Monday through Friday. And I'm talking local business for the most part. I'm talking, let's go with a roofing company, for example. I'm going to run Monday through Friday. I'm going to lop off the weekend, because more often than not, they're not answering their phones. So Monday through Friday, I'm going to go with a 4-week month. Or the real average is 4.3 weeks per for the average month, but no one wants to deal with that 0.3. So we're just going to do 4 weeks. So 5 days times 4, so 4 weeks, that's 20 advertising days per month. And for most local contractor markets and lots of local businesses, you want to be at roughly $50 a day to start. And that's 50 times 20, that gets you to $1,000 a month ad budget. Okay? Some markets that's great and you'll do well with. Other markets that's not going to be enough and you're gonna struggle with. And I'll walk through that. Budget is a big factor, and here's why. Let's say we went with that example of $50 a day, and your average click cost was $25 a click. Most people go, okay, I'm going to get 2 clicks per day. But the reality is you're likely to get maybe 1 click per day. The reason being is there's someone else in the market, likely several other people in the market, willing to spend $100, $200, $300 per day. And Google is going to favor them in placements and give them more opportunities in terms of impression share, meaning times that people, times your ads view or times your ads appear in front of a search query. And what's going to happen is you're likely going to leave a good portion of that budget unused on a monthly basis. And what happens is I go back to the client and I said, okay, we're in a situation where your budget, your daily budget and click cost ratio is really tight. You're at about a 1 to 2 ratio, meaning your average click cost to your daily budget. So that's a 1 to 2 ratio. That's too tight. You want that ratio to be 1 to 3, 1 to 4, 1 to 5, 1 to 10, 1 to 100. You want that to be as wide as possible because what that does is it shows Google that you're willing to spend the money if and when the opportunity arises. And obviously, for some businesses, that's not possible. So you've got to do the best you can with what you've got, and that comes back to setting proper client expectations. You're only going to be dealing with a handful of clicks on a monthly basis if you have a $1,000 a month budget and you're at $25 average click cost. So you've got to set proper expectations. Are we going to get enough clicks to get a deal? Are we going to get enough clicks to get enough appointments set to get in front of enough customers to close them? These are the realities of running a campaign in competitive markets or relatively competitive markets. So budget's a big factor, and these are things you've got to take into account. Now I've gone over a lot of stuff here, and this, I don't mean to confuse you. If any of this is confusing, please drop a comment below and ask for any clarification. I can certainly create more videos on this topic because this is a big piece of it. Knowing how AdWords works so you can go out and properly sell is super important. So if you have any questions, just drop them below. All right, so let's move on to number 5 here, and that is to know your numbers before you start. Now, this really just continues to reiterate or continues to go over things like budget and setting proper expectations. But I want to add to that, you've got to know your numbers. So from a client perspective, how many leads does it take for them to get a sale? So what is their sales conversion ratio? Okay, and those leads that we're talking about, are those advertising leads or are those referred leads? Because advertising leads and referred leads tend to close at different rates. So referred leads are pretty warm, okay? Especially, let's say, if a friend or a family member referred. I don't want to say it's a layup, but they're a hell of a lot easier to close than an advertising lead. Same with if you are a medical professional or your client's a medical professional and they were referred from another practitioner. A white coat referral to a white coat, those referrals are very easy to close. They're pretty much assumed closes because they were referred from another authority figure. So not all leads are created equal, okay? And you've got to recognize that. And many local businesses have never done successful advertising, so they don't know what an advertising lead actually feels like. They've built their business on word of mouth. They've built their business on referrals. So these are real things you've got to think about when it comes to a company knowing their numbers. And also, a lot of companies by default will just, and maybe by ego, just say that their conversion rates are way higher than they are. Oh, I close 5 out of 10, or I close 6 out of 10, or whatever. I close 4 out of 10. The way I do it, I like to look at it and just go, okay, let's assume you close 5 out of 10 or 6 out of 10, but let's go worst case scenario here. Do these numbers back out for you if you close 1 out of 10? Or do they back out if you close 2 out of 10? I think the national average for closing is probably between 1 and 2 out of 10. So between 10 and 20%, something like that. So those are real numbers that I like to work with just because, number one, most local businesses don't track this kind of stuff. So that's a big part of it. If they don't, help to teach them how to track this. Teach them how to use a CRM or a spreadsheet so that they can start tracking this and actually start quantifying all this data that they're getting in so that they're not just throwing money away in their advertising. Help them. This is part of your job as a digital marketing agency or a digital marketing consultant is helping them through all this stuff. Because at the end of the day, yeah, our job is to generate leads, but really, if those leads don't generate sales and don't equal revenue for the business, you're not going to be working for them for very long, and they may not be in business for very long. So try to do your best to really help them. So, all right, next thing is knowing your market, knowing the click cost, your average conversion rate, search impression share, stuff like that. That all goes back to, again, knowing your numbers, budget, setting proper expectations. A lot of these play on each other, but it's really important because these make up the foundation of proper expectations for the client. So what's a CPC? It means cost per click. It means how much it's going to cost to get a click in any given market. Conversion rate, so how many of those clicks are going to actually become leads. Search impression share. So search impression share is percentage of the time your ads will appear during your ad schedule. Okay, and that number is important because it, number one, talks about the effectiveness of the ads in your bidding, but also it talks about how much can you scale. So what do I mean by that? Let's say you've got a roofing company that wants to spend $20,000 a month, but you're already at like an 80% impression share with, let's say, a $5,000 a month budget. That means that they're never going to be able to spend and ethically spend that $20,000. Some companies will take that money and spend it just because it'll increase their management fee, but the reality is they're likely getting shitty broad match clicks at that point, and you're doing your client a disservice. When we run our campaigns, we want our campaigns to be as tight as possible, and we want them to be either exact match, phrase match, potentially modified broad match. We want them to be as low down the funnel as possible. So as an example, let's go with roofing again. We want them to be roofing, roofer, roofing contractor near me, best roofing contractor, things like that. I don't want to appear for stuff like best shingle or where to buy shingles. Best type of architectural shingle. Should I use cedar versus slate? I don't really want to appear for that kind of stuff in paid search because I'm paying to be there. That may be some good content for your website, like cedar versus slate, or Alaskan cedar versus yellow cedar, all that kind of stuff. Maybe that's the content stuff, but not paid. Paid, I want to be as low down the funnel as possible. So I went off on a little bit of a tangent there going about search impression share, but it's important to know these things. You want to be as low down the funnel as possible to make the campaign as clean as possible and to get the truest numbers from the campaign. Last but not least, if your client cannot sell, this shit ain't going to work. Sorry. It's a tough pill to swallow for a lot of people. People ask me all the time, what's the best niche to target when it comes to selling AdWords? And my response is, you ready? You looking? Find companies that can sell. Because if you could find a company that can sell, your life is going to be so much easier. Okay? Reason being is I can go and get 50 dentists, but if those dentists can't set appointments and can't close the deals, what's the point? Then you're just going to go through this nasty churn of onboarding a client, losing a client, onboarding a client, losing a client. Whereas if I can go in and find 5 or 10 companies or 20 companies that can sell, they'll never leave you, because as soon as you're generating them leads and they can scale up and spend more and get more leads, they're going to be happier than a pig and shit, and they're going to love you. And those are the best kind of clients to work with. So what I like to do is qualify them, find out what their sales process looks like. If I deliver you a lead, what happens next? Okay? Who answers the phone call? What do they say in that phone call? Do they have a script that they follow? Okay. How do they set an appointment? How do they overcome objections? How do they deal with brush-offs? How do they isolate an objection? These are all things you've got to walk through with your client to figure out, to make sure how they sell. Okay. After an appointment's been set, how do they ensure a person shows up at their appointment? Okay. Once they're in their appointment and in the sales presentation or the consultation, what happens then? What happens post-sale if a sale is not made? How do they follow up? Once a person's a client, do they upsell or cross-sell them things? Once that person's a client, do they ever talk to them again? These are all things you've got to talk about with your client to figure out if they legit have sales systems in place or they don't. And if they don't, this is an opportunity for you to help them implement some sales systems in their business to make not only your life easier, but make them more profitable and successful. So that's it for now. I've gone over my 7 big things when it comes to selling AdWords and setting and managing expectations. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, I went over a lot of stuff there, and a lot of these were kind of combined. So if you have any questions, drop them into the comments. Happy to answer them. Happy to make more videos on this topic if it's something you guys are digging. If you like it, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Hope you guys like it. Have a great day. Bye.